There's no way a metal sword is this bendy and this light. This weighs like an ounce. Hey! Sorry. Welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor. I'm back from the past, ancient Ireland. And you know, Brian Boru knows how to have a good time, but I wouldn't trust them with gifts. They said this was an authentic Irish sword, and it says 2017 made in China. So, not the best gift giver, but it's okay. We're back in the present, which is more than I could ask for. In fact, we're back in Nov Sotros, which is team games. And we've already covered a solo game, so a team of one. We just covered Dados, which is a fixed partnership game. And now we are going to cover a full team game, everyone on the same team, in Bremen by S. Ondo. And the hook to Bremen is there are no cards in this game, kind of like Dados actually, funny enough. But players will be given out these kind of animal meeples that have the rank on the front, but on the back, it's just blank. So players will kind of get their hand and they'll set it up so it'll be all blank on the back. So you can see kind of the suits that players will have in their hand. And the goal of the game, the kind of hook, is every player needs to get a certain amount of tricks, and they all need to be different. So maybe in a 4-player game, someone gets 0, someone gets 2, someone gets 4, someone gets 6. Also at the end, everyone's gonna have one more card, then tricks that'll be played, and the card left needs to be unique in everyone's hand. Also, there's a whole scoring thing. It's a very tough, challenging co-op game. But let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck in Bremen is made up of 4 suits, 4 different animals, numbered 1 through 13, and the donkeys are always trump. Here we have the game set up for 4 players, and the players are just going to be represented by other animal meeples. Those don't come with the game. It's just something I thought I'd use for fun. Also, what doesn't come with the game is a bag to kind of deal out all of the cards in this game. It's just a chai bag because they're a great band and a great drink. But so each player is just going to go around the table, randomly drawing out and keeping hidden from the other players all the cards. So now we have 13 cards dealt to all the 4 players, and I know this kind of looks crazy and chaotic, but essentially this will look on the table like you'll know the backs or the suits of all the cards in everyone's hands, but you'll be able to see the value on your own. In fact, maybe if we're looking at a point of view of the penguin here, I might flip these up so the camera can kind of see the values and what it would look like if you're sitting at the table. In the game, you'll only be playing 12 tricks out of the 13 cards, so everyone will have a card left over. So one of the goals is that each person's card that's left over has to be unique in suit. So maybe at the end, the penguin has the 5 of the hen left, the flamingo has one of the donkeys, the kangaroo over there has one of the blue, and then the elephant has one of the cats, the orange cats. So if that is fulfilled, then you can move on to the second condition, which at 4 players is 1 person needs to take 0 tricks, 1 needs to take 2, 1 needs to take 4, and 1 needs to take 6. So that totals to 12. And you can't talk about who's going to take no tricks, who's going to take 6 tricks. It's kind of just figured out as you play. So let's jump into the play. So it's must follow. So let's say penguin here led with this 12 blue. So maybe this elephant follows suit and plays a 13 blue. The kangaroo follows suit and plays 1, and then the flamingo plays the 10. So highest of the lead suit wins, unless there's trump, and trump is, again, donkeys. That would win, the highest of the trump suit, but there's no trump, so the elephant over here will win the trick. And what we've done is just kind of stack them up and collect them over to the side. So now we know that the person who's going to take 0 tricks can't be the elephant. So it's one of these 3 other players. Fast forwarding a little bit, you can play whatever you want if you don't have the suit. Like the penguin player over here doesn't have the chickens, so maybe they throw out their donkey to try to win this because donkeys are trump. So then they would win the trick with their 10 donkey, again stacking up, and then they would just lead to the next trick. Fast forwarding to the last trick here, the flamingo led cat, penguin off suits with their donkey, then the elephant over here follows suit with their cat, and finally the kangaroo plays their donkey. So the penguin will take the trick, and you check now to see if the 2 requirements are filled. So is the last card in everyone's hand a different suit? It looks like it is. If it was like this at the end, that's just an immediate failure. But since it was fulfilled, you check the second condition, which is to see if the specific trick numbers were taken by all the players. So 0, 2, 4, and 6. So it looks like it happened. So this means that the players have won the game. If, however, whoa, that trick was over here, this player took 5, this player only took 1, then again, that means they've failed the game. If you have won, now you check to see how well you did. So you look at the card with the player who won 0 tricks and the card of the player who won the most tricks, and you'll compare the rank on the cards. So as you can see over here, I guess they're both 10 in this case. You'll subtract them from each other, so you got 0, and then you'll add 12. So the goal is you want the person who won no tricks to have the lowest value, and the person who won the most tricks to have the highest value, meaning they didn't need that highest value card to win the most tricks, and this person didn't need the lowest value card to slough tricks. So ideally, you would want the player who won 6 to have the last card in their hand be a 13, and the player who won 0 tricks, their last card to be 1, because then you would get a perfect score of 24. So that's how to play Bremen at 4. At 3 players, what you do is on the deal, there will be 1 card or animal set aside. That will be the one animal that will need to be unique to the 3 other players' final card. So for example, at the end of the deal, maybe this 2 chicken was left to the side. That means the final 3 suits in the player's hands need to be donkey, I guess dog, and cat. The final suit can't be chicken that's left in any of the players' hands. So that card is set aside. Then, since there's fewer players at 3, you actually have less total tricks. So 1 player needs 0, 1 player needs 4, and 1 player needs 8, as opposed to 0, 2, 4, and 6. In the 2-player variant, it's like you're playing 2 games where you go back and forth. So 1 player needs 8 tricks, the other needs 4, and then the next hand, 1 player needs 8, and the other needs 4. And how it works is, because at the first hand, 1 player gets a quarter of the deck, the other player gets the other quarter, and then the second hand, 1 player gets a quarter, and the other player gets the final 4th quarter. But how it works is, you then need the 4 different suits in those 4 hands. So 1 player needs 2 different suits between their 2 hands, and those 2 different suits need to be different than the 2 different end card suits of the first player. Pretty confusing, but it's essentially like you're playing the 4-player game over 2 hands, where each of the players plays 2 of the hands, if that makes sense. And to add even more confusion on top of this, you can play this game solo, where essentially you play the 2-player version just alone. So you go back and forth, but you can't see what cards the second player has. You'll just be following suit because you know what suits they have, so you can lead to the trick, maybe with like a donkey. You see they have a donkey in their hand. You pick it at random, and that's what they led. So it's a little bit of known information, and they're still following suit, interestingly enough, because they do have the suits so that you can see. So you follow suit as best as you can, and you still will be following suit because you can see their cards, but you don't know what rank they're going to play, so that can add to a little bit of the unknown nature at 1 player. But so that is actually how to play Bremen at all player counts. So that is Bremen, and it's an interesting package. One of the funny things about a co-op trick taker that I've come to find, because we've done co-op trick taking month on the channel, and I've played a fair amount now, is how do they handle replayability? How do they handle, winning and losing as a team? Is there enough to bring you back? And I think this one has that. It has it kind of in 2 different aspects. In the difficulty, I'd say it's a pretty tough game to get right. It's a tough game to win. Not too tough. I think it's slightly on the side of difficult, but there's also the scoring. So you're trying to get a perfect score. And I don't think in all the times we've played, we even kind of got close to a perfect score. We probably had a win-lose ratio of maybe like 30%, 40%, but once you win, getting a good score is a totally different thing. I talked about this when we did solo games, but I like personally when a game has a win-loss over a score system, but when a game can have both, like this game does, I think that's just perfect. And the scoring system is really interesting. I like how it values the person who's winning a lot of tricks to keep high cards, and then the person who's sloughing a lot to keep low cards. It has this nice kind of like push and pull of going against what you want to make the win condition happen. And the 2 win conditions totally make sense, and what's nice about them is they're very trackable. As you see someone taking a lot of tricks, in your mind and in everyone's mind at the table, you can kind of tell that they're going to be the one to take maybe 4 or 6. And as it whittles down to who has to slough, because 3 of the people have already taken tricks, it's nice that people kind of get they kind of get their prescribed roles as they play. And then as you are like halfway through the hand, then you start noticing the suits and trying to make that work as well. So it has a very nice arc to the hand of Bremen, and I like that it is just one hand. It's a very quick game. I'd say it's best at 4. You really get a lot of interesting push and pull at 4. At 3, it has a little less tension because you're not trying to coordinate, 4 people and 4 different trick piles and cards left in hand. I didn't like it at all at 2 and 1, which is a funny drop off because personally, I haven't found too many games that handle playing 2 hands very well. So there's Take the Acords New Edition at 2. There's Potato Man at 2. They all have these kind of game arcs where you're playing 2 hands and you're trying to go off of it. And maybe it's just me personally, but I don't like having to understand a hand, see how to short suit, see what to make of it, and then also have to do that again with a different hand. If I really had to come up with a reason why, I think it's because tracking just gets too loose and it's just so off to me when you have 2 hands. I kind of lose whatever sense of card counting that I do play with. I don't play with it too much, but I do generally try to keep a sense of what's in the deck and what's been played. But when you play 2-handed, that's just like a little too off for me. So I didn't like 1 and 2. At 1, it does an interesting thing where the AI still follows suit because you can see what cards they have. So that was kind of fun to play off that and still have them play a random rank, so it's still a surprise. So wasn't the worst at 1, but I think there's better solo games that we've covered in the past, like 4 Northwood. Notes about the production, I do want to say I love the cover. It's probably one of my favorite board game covers ever of any board game. I just love it. Kind of looks like a child's storybook, from like old Europe. And it just has a very like whimsical feel about it. And then when you open the game and you get to the cards that are these like animal meeples, it just, everything looks so nice, and it feels nice to have like a very tactical game that kind of has chunky wooden bits. But what's funny is I've never seen a production be both amazing but also functionally horrible. Maybe a little too harsh. But so the game didn't come with a bag. So how you're meant to draw the cards is maybe put them in the box and kind of do this and pull some out. But then you're trying to like sort them and not let people see, and the pieces are all over the place. And then it's also weird because like in a game without cards where you can't just shuffle and deal randomly, when people are grabbing, they might randomly grab for like the bigger ones because they're easier to grab. It's like the Lego effect. If you've ever had like a box of Legos, all the small pieces go to the bottom. I've noticed like people who draw first just kind of get more of those donkeys. It's just kind of a weird situation. And I know this is probably like I'm 14 and this is deep thought, but cards are just so good. Cards are just so nice. They're like the perfect thing to shuffle and get random. Like I know some games like Mahjong, they have like the washing of the tiles and stuff, but there's just something about like a cleanness to the cards. And I have a game called Scan, which actually is able to play Bremen, because I don't know if I've said this or if you've noticed, but it's 4 suits 1 to 13, so it's a standard deck. But you would need to see the suits on the back. So you could make this game by just getting a deck of playing cards and just making it so you can see the deck on the back. But getting back to Scan, what Scan is it's essentially a deck of cards where, it's different colored suits, so blue and green as opposed to just all red and black. But you can see the suits on the backs of the cards. So you can actually play Bremen with a Scan deck, or again, if you just mark up a standard deck. But what I noticed was, because I brought this and Bremen to the game nights when I played, I wanted to keep playing with the Bremen pieces because they were so cute. But I was so tempted to just use this because it was so fiddly. And I don't want to say a nightmare, that sounds hyperbolistic, but it was just comically annoying to shuffle these and make sure it felt like everyone was like getting a random deal. And maybe this is like a gamery tick, but it just felt so annoying to get these dealt. Anyway,
So the production, amazing, but also tough at the same time. The last thing I wanted to say about Bremen was it's tough in almost a post the crew world to have a co-op game, because honestly, while I did like the challenge, it was very fun, this just felt like a mission of the crew. Like a very hard mission of the crew, but it just felt like a specific mission of the crew. So it's tough to recommend this over the crew, or the crew 2, Electric Krugaloo, because those games have like a million Bremens in them. And while I think this is a great challenge, and I think you should definitely try it if you like co-op trick taking, I think it's probably one of the best, it's tough to be like, go get Bremen when it felt like I was playing just a single mission of the crew. So definitely check it out. I think it's a fun game, a little tough, a little fiddly, but very interesting. Thanks so much for watching.